He was the most despicable man that ever lived.
He was a hero. He saved my life.
He was a rich jacket.
A scoundrel.
My mother lived because of him.
He sent my uncle to a watery grave.
He was a coward.
A saint.
A victim.
He was my husband.
My father.
My son.
The love of my life.
Commit his body to the deep, in certain hope of the resurrection unto eternal life. Amen.
No! Stop! Please, no, stop!
Bruce, you're right. It's all right.
Thank you.
This is the 4th time this week. Shouldn't you speak to someone?
Who?
I don't know. A doctor.
I'm not sick.
The vicar, then.
Don't be absurd.
Come to bed. It's late.
Must finish these reports.
Beg pardon, Mr. Ismay. The insurance adjuster's here again.
How many claims is it up to now?
Just under 3,000? Sir, the ribbon cutting is at 4:30.
And you shall make the presentation.
But Mr. Ismay, as the principal benefactor of this charity, if you'd only say a few words.
We agreed, Mr. Sanderson. I shall be present, but you're not to acknowledge me in any way. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, as the vice chairman of the White Star Line, it is my great honor to be here today to cut the ribbon on this spot where we shall erect a memorial to those left behind by this terrible tragedy.
What about your employer? Where's he then?
He saved himself, but my Robbie got drowned.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. J. Bruce Ismay
A coward! It wasn't his fault! He should be drawn and quartered!
Pardon me, sir. Aren't you J. Bruce Ismay?
Why, yes I am. Do I know you?
I saw your photograph in the newspaper. I'm Sophie.
How do you do, Sophie?
Do you think I could have your autograph, sir?
Why on earth?
Oh, please, sir.
Very well.
I've got it! I've got the autograph from the man who saved the Titanic!
How on earth did it ever come to this? Look, Father! Look at the big boats!
When they're that large, my boy, they're not called boats. They're called ships.
And you built these ships, Father?
I had them built. I'm the owner of the line. And one day, we'll do the same.
Thanks, Father, but I think I'd rather join the fire brigade.
Copy. Remember the names I told you for the different parts of the ships.
I think I do, yes?
Good. Let's start. Which is the port side of the ship?
There!
Wrong. That is the bow. Now try again. Which is the starboard?
There?
It's not even part of the ship. That's a flag, you idiot. How will you ever be able to speak to the shipbuilders?
You said starboard, it has a star on it!
Hopeless. You're not crying.
Of course not!
We are gentlemen. We never cry.
But what if one must cry?
You do it in the bath, or at night, with your face in the pillow. But never where anyone can see. Do you understand?
Yes, Father.
Good. Now, where's the crow's nest? Surely you remember that. It's a start, anyways. What are we going to do with him? He is so bloody awkward.
He's only 19. Give him time.
Mind you show some manners. I'll not have any son of mine behaving like a hooligan.
Yes, Father.
Now, remember everything we've practiced.
But Mother, it won't be the same dancing with a young girl as it is with you.
Thank you, dear. That's most comforting.
But what if I just...
Hush. You'll be fine.
Hello, Sir Ismay. Would you please hand me a slice of cake?
You know me?
Well, it's not so strange. My father's worked for yours for most of our lives at Vivian Pettiford.
I know. I'm just surprised you know me.
Oh, of course. As the child of a lowly riveter, I'm not in your class.
That's rubbish.
I'd love to dance.
With me.
Oh, no, with him at your back.
I think he's quite taken with her. He says he's in love.
Piford. He's far too young to know what love is. Well, my boy, now that you finished Harrow, I think it's time you saw the world.
Thank you, Father, but I think I'm quite content here in Liverpool.
Nonsense. The world is your oyster. I'm sending you to the New York office.
For how long?
Who knows? It's an absolutely ripping city. Perhaps you'll even find a wife.
But I'm going to marry Vivian Pettiford.
The riveteer's daughter? Don't be absurd.
But I love her.
When I was your age, I fell in love every 10 minutes. Tomorrow, you'll be in love with a tiller girl.
Father, I'm staying here and I'm marrying Vivian.
We'll go to New York and find a wife worthy of your station.
And suppose I refuse?
I'll cut you off. Without a penny.
I won't go. He can't make me.
But what if he cuts you off?
Let him. I don't need his money or the bloody white storyline.
Bruce, this is a wonderful opportunity.
If it means I have to live without you.
You mustn't make him angry.
I guess I could go for a few months to humor the old sod. I'll write you a letter every day and save money towards your passage to be married in New York.
I shall miss you terribly.
At the end of the year, you'll be my wife. September 1886. My dearest Vivian, New York is the most exciting city in the world. I can't wait for you to see it. It's extraordinary how free I feel away from Liverpool. I'm told if I keep applying myself, I could be head clerk within 6 months. More later. Love always, Bruce.
Ismay!
Yes, sir.
Where the devil are those reports for the harbor master?
I'll find them, sir.
What more should I expect from the boss's son?
Dear Bruce, it feels so different here without you. Mother's encouraged me to go out and meet new people, but my heart isn't in it. I cannot wait to be with you again. Love always, your Vivian.
4th April, 1887. Dear Vivian, I'm sorry I haven't written in a while, but there's so much to learn. Now that I'm the head clerk, the pay is better, but the hours are much longer. I've managed to save $12 towards your passage. I hope all is well. Love, Bruce.
Length of the boom.
20 meters.
Masthead.
65 meters.
Mizzen mast.
42 meters from stem to stern.
Not bad. But you're too thin. I'm taking you out for a decent meal.
15th August, 1887. Dear V. Father's been in town for a while, so I haven't had 1 second to write. He's pressuring me to make social discourse, so he's dragging me to a few dismal parties. I haven't heard from you in a while. I hope all is well. Yours, B.
Bruce, it's been so long between your letters. I'm spending the summer with my Aunt Cecilia in Twickenham. We're having such fun. She's even taking me shopping for a new gown in London next week. She says we'll have to find somewhere posh for me to wear it. Isn't that silly? Love, Vivian.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
Don't worry, I'll get it.
Thank you so much.
Certainly.
You're English?
Liverpool. J. Bruce Ismay.
How do you do? I'm Florence Shiflin.
I'm with the White Star Line.
Really? I've never been on a ship.
You should try it sometime.
I'm afraid I'm not very good at parties. Sometimes I think I'd rather be back home in Philadelphia. Of course, it's just as lonely there since my cat died.
What was it called?
Simon, he was a Persian, so dear. I've had him since I was a little girl.
Care for some more caloric? Do I make you nervous?
I've never met a cultured Englishman before. You must find me awfully dull.
I had a cat once. A stray. I hid it in the dustbin so Nanny wouldn't find it. When she did, she put it out. It was the dearest thing. And I never saw it again. I'm going to the shipyard tomorrow. Perhaps I could show you around.
That would be wonderful.
May I see you home?
Thank you. Let me get my coat. darling, they've got a lift. How thrilling.
We have to go to this bloody thing.
Stop it, I've just had my hair done.
We could just as easily leave. No one has seen us yet.
We haven't been anywhere since the hike.
Hasn't it been lovely?
Now behave. Didn't JP say that this man could be an important ally?
I abhor journalists.
He's not exactly a journalist. Mr. Hearst owns some of the largest newspapers in America. It wouldn't hurt you to have him on your side.
You sound like father. I suppose we could go for an hour? And when I put my hand on my temple, that should cue to explain how my neuralgia is flaring up. And we can make a quick getaway. Please.
Very well.
Mr. Ismay, welcome. William Randolph.
How do you do, sir?
Who is this captivating creature?
May I present my wife, Florence Shiflin Ismay.
Hello, Mr. Hearst.
You're not one of the Philadelphia Shiflins, are you? Pharmaceuticals, isn't it?
How did you know?
It's not exactly a common name, nor are you a common beauty.
You're too kind, sir.
And are you in the shipping business, Mr. Ismay?
Not shipping, ships.
It's all the same to me.
You wouldn't feel that way if you were aboard one of them. The White Star Line has the most luxurious ships at sea.
Well, I've always preferred the Hamburg American line myself. You see, my mother and I recently made a crossing on the Bismarck. Now there's a steamship. Elegant as hell. And fast.
Well, we've been considering advertising in some more American newspapers. Perhaps we could
Mr.
make
Ismay, this is a party. Business talk is boring the ladies, so let me introduce your wife to some of my guests. So, would you mind telling me what a nice Philadelphia girl like you is doing with a stuffed shirt like that?
I beg your pardon, he's my husband.
Don't go all moral and righteous on me. How about a kiss?
Mr. Hearst, please.
Oh, the last mistress were cold. You'd make one hell of a replacement.
How dare you!
Well, I could set you up like a queen, you know? My family owns a penthouse a few
Who the
blocks.
hell do you think you are treating my wife that way?
Merely offering her a business proposition.
You swine!
Lions are all the same. You go prim and proper into the light squad. And then not even the sheep are safe.
If you ever come near my wife again, I'll kill you. Do you understand? Just let me go!
I'll ring for the elevator.
Take the stairs.
What the hell are you all staring at? This is a party! Play, damn it!
How do you feel, Father?
Ripping. You think I'll swim the channel? You think I feel, you idiot?
At least you haven't lost your pride.
I have something for you. It's in the drawer.
Father's and to make this story. Bulldog weapon. It's all I have left of it. Mind you don't ever have to use it.
It's beautiful, Father.
Keep it away from the children. You know I'm leaving you the company.
Really? To me?
Think I leave it to the sausage vendor.
Thank you, Father.
It's not a set of hoops. Roll them back. Sure you do something.
I will, Father. I'll make you proud.
How?
I shall build the biggest, grandest, most luxurious steamship the world has ever seen.
would make me proud.
All I ever wanted to do was make you happy.
Well, we can't have everything. Sure, you take care of that pretty little thing you've married for. He loves you terribly.
It's over then.
Yes.
Are you all right?
I'll be with you in a second.
This is the newest style of life jacket. Every passenger on board will be outfitted with one of these. Made sure they specifically designed it to say Titanic on the front.
JP. I wasn't expecting you.
I hope I'm not intruding, gentlemen. I just wanted to check on my investment.
Certainly. This is Mr. Rector from the Board of Trade. May I introduce our principal investor, Mr. J.P. Morgan, and of course, you already know Mr. Andrews.
I see you've opted for the more expensive style of life jackets, Mr. Andrews. Hopefully we can economize with a few less lifeboats.
Sir, I feel we should have no less than 64.
Why so many?
Well, considering the number of passengers.
According to the Board of Trade regulations, you only need 16 for any vessel over 10,000 tons.
But the Titanic is going to be nearly 50,000 tons. There's no precedent.
The Titanic is like a lifeboat in itself.
And where would you put these boats, Mr. Andrews?
They'd only take up 40 square feet.
40 square feet. We could have at least 2 more first-class cabins.
Gentlemen, it's dangerous to have less than 32 lifeboats.
Based on current regulations, you only need 16.
Well, if he says 16, then why do you say 32, Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Morgan, if anything were to go seriously wrong with the
I
ship...
thought you said the ship was unsinkable.
Practically unsinkable.
So, if there were ever any malfunction, say a loss of power, the lifeboats would only be needed for ferrying passengers from one ship to another, isn't that right?
Probably, yes.
2 more first-class cabins would result in how much more revenue, Mr. Ismay?
Around £2,000 per voyage.
Already paying over $4 million to build her. An extra 2,000 per cruise could help me see a quicker return on my investment.
But Mr. Morgan, if you'll just listen,
No, you listen, Mr. Andrews. I already owe the White Star Line another $1 million to pay for your fancy deck chairs, your heated swimming pools, your Turkish baths. I hate to see this money get tied up over a couple unnecessary lifeboats.
But she's already more than half built.
Practically unsinkable is good enough for me.
Sir, I must protest!
You mix. You're always so damn cheap until it's somebody else's money.
Mr. Andrews. Speak to you for a moment. Understand your concern.
Concern? If anything were to go seriously wrong with the ship...
And what are the chances of that happening? She's the finest ship ever built.
I'm not gonna compromise the safety of this ship for some ignorant yank!
Where else am I supposed to find £500,000 at this late date? If we don't set sail by mid-April, the company will go bankrupt. Under the circumstances, we shall concede to Mr. Morgan. The Titanic will have 16 regular lifeboats, 4 collapsible boats, and 2 additional first-class cabins.
Well, I think that's more than adequate for a ship of this quality. Now, what's next on the agenda?
I wish you could come. It's going to be a marvelous voyage.
I know. but I really can't leave Mother right now. Her rheumatism was so bad today that she could barely walk.
She'll miss having you there.
Not really. You'll have so many details to attend to with the launching of your brand new ship.
Never enough to forget you.
We'll have so many crossings on the Titanic, and perhaps one day we could take the children.
I'm taking Father's pearl-headed pistol to sell at auction in New York.
Do you really think you should do that?
I want to be rid of the bloody thing once and for all.
All ashore that's going ashore. All ashore for Queenstown, Ireland. Final port of departure for the RMS Titanic. All aboard!
Mr. Fry, I should need my tailcoat pressed by 7. I'm meeting the doctor for dinner.
Very good, sir.
Vivian?
Hello, Bruce.
Good God, what are you doing here?
I'm joining my daughter in New York. We're touring America.
Mr. Fry, could you give us a moment, please? I was so sorry to hear about Peter's passing.
Influenza knows no class structure. Funny, I feel strangely free now, almost like a girl again.
You sure look like one. You have no idea what it means to me that you're here.
You didn't think I'd miss it, did you? I was there when your father said you wouldn't amount to anything. And look at you now, the man behind the RMS Titanic, the largest floating object in the world.
I would love to show you around.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. Another ice warning.
How many does that make today, Mr. Lightoller? 6? They certainly are being overzealous, aren't they?
And there's an indoor swimming pool and a Turkish bath. Isn't it wonderful, Lily?
Vivi, no one's called me that since I was 19.
You haven't changed, not one bit.
Lord love you for a liar. But we have done well for ourselves, haven't we?
What happened between us?
Nothing, really. Time, distance, it sorted itself out.
I'm sorry if
Please, watching my husband die taught me anything. It's that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. I'd love to see the billiard room. Are ladies allowed in?
How did that ever stop you? Captain,
Mr. Ismay.
may I introduce Miss Vivian Peter Hilliard?
How do you do, Captain?
Ma'am.
I must dress for dinner. We can finish our tour later, Mr. Ismay. Please excuse me.
A new ship is always such a beehive of activity.
And what an honor to have you in charge. You shall have quite a farewell voyage.
Very sorry to disturb you, sir. Another ice warning.
Thank you, Mr. Lightoller.
Anything to be worried about?
A warning of ice in parts of the world like this is like a sunshine warning, Bora Bora. I've had no incidents in 40 years of experience at sea, and I certainly don't intend to start now.
Pardon me, Captain. I was wondering if you might settle a wager between myself and Mrs. Astor.
And how could I do that, Mrs. Wright?
A number of passengers are speculating an early arrival into New York. I say we'll be 1 day early. Mrs. Astor says we'll be 2 days.
Well, I'm afraid you'll both be disappointed.
Couldn't a ship like this set a speed record, Mr. Ismay?
It probably could, Mrs. Astor.
Imagine the publicity.
I think I'm a little too old to be seeking thrill rides. Excuse me.
Didn't I hear that officer say something to the captain about an ice warning?
Mrs. Ryerson, your hearing is impeccable.
Why, thank you.
In fact, we have one right here.
Well then, I imagine you'll speed up even more to get out of the danger zone.
You needn't worry, ma'am. We have everything well under control.
But will you speed up?
I'm sure the captain will take every precaution to make sure everyone is safe.
I knew it. We'll be in New York on Tuesday. Madeline, you owe me dinner at Delmonico's. We'll see about that.
God save me from women with too much time on their hands.
You know, we've yet to run all the boilers. suppose we could arrive earlier, if we wanted.
Captain, while I never presume to tell you how to navigate this ship, I'm dead set against it.
I could have guessed as much.
The Titanic was built for comfort, not speed. If we arrived a day early, people would be scrambling for hotels. And the people greeting them would have yet to arrive. Why should we anger some of the richest men in the world for sake of a speed record?
So, we'll keep this leisurely pace as we approach the southern passage and stay on course for Wednesday.
So we are in agreement. No early arrival.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Captain.
Bruce, wasn't that a fine meal?
Splendid. The best so far.
I'm afraid I had a few too many oysters, and I'm not used to so much wine at dinner.
May I see you to your stateroom?
Thank you. This rather reminds me of that silly Christmas day.
I was terrified.
Of me.
Of course, you were the most ravishing creature I'd ever seen.
Are you afraid of me now?
Should I be?
Would you like to join me for a nightcap?
Yes. Probably shouldn't.
Surely you've been on enough crossings to know that a ship is full of secrets. Let's create a few of our own.
I'm a respectable widow.
And you're a happily married man. Why did you stay in New York?
You never needed me. But I found someone who did. If I were a different sort of man.
You are! You're the man who built the Titanic. Good night, Bruce.
I enjoyed myself as if I were on a summer palace by the seashore, surrounded by every comfort.
I was only 7, but I remember thinking that everything in the world was standing still.
You would actually walk miles along the decks and passages, covering different grounds all the time. I was thoroughly familiar with every type of ship afloat, but it took me 14 days before I could find my way from one part of the ship to another.
You should have seen my first meeting with Ismay. He put little red marks all over my blueprints, and the first thing I thought was, here's a man who wants me to build him a ship that's going to sink. We're sending gilded eggshells out to the sea.
My mother had a premonition from the word go. She told my father that to say that a ship was unsinkable was flying in the face of God.
Mr. Murdoch, what's happened?
I think we hit it right, sir.
Six of the watertight compartments had just been ruptured.
Did you say 6?
Yes, if you hit it straight on, you might have only hit 2. But when you swerved, you scraped almost the entire side of the ship. We're going down for sure.
But that's not possible.
Wake up, man! We're sinking! How much time have we got?
An hour, 2 at the most.
What should we do?
We'd best lower the lifeboats at once!
Yes. The lifeboat.
But there aren't enough! You said we didn't need any!
It wasn't me, it was JP! I had to finish the ship on time or go bankrupt.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed it!
I haven't got my life jacket! I've left it in my cabin!
It will be all right, madam.
No, but not my life jacket! I will drown!
Off you go.
Bruce!
Vivi, you should be in a lifeboat. What are you still doing on
Looking
board?
for you!
You must get into this
I'm
boat.
not going without you.
Listen, there aren't enough boats. We're trying to contact another ship, but it might not get here in time. You must do as I say.
I'm not going without you.
You see that boat over there? It's collapsible sea. It's the last one on board. If I've heard another ship is on its way, I will join you.
And if not...
Go!
Mr. Ismay,
Coming, Mr. Murdoch.
Angela! Where's my little girl?
Where did you last see her?
She was with her father in the cabin. They could still be there.
What's the number?
243, be dead.
Are you Angela?
Yes, Mr. Flopsy and I are waiting for Daddy.
I'm Bruce. I'm here to take you safely to your mummy.
No, Mr. Flops doesn't like Mummy. He'll only go with Daddy.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap you up in this blanket here, like a caterpillar in a cocoon. before it turns into a beautiful butterfly. And I'll put Mr. Foxy right here in my pocket, so once we get safely to Mummy, he can decide for himself.
All right.
Off we go.
We can't wait any longer. We've got to lower this boat.
Not yet, please. Then at least let me out.
I've got her!
Angela. Child.
Where's Daddy? I waited and waited, but he never came.
I know. You must be very quiet.
No! I won't go without Daddy.
You needn't worry, Angela. We'll all be back on the boat in time for breakfast. You'll see your daddy then.
Thank you, sir.
Lowering lifeboat number 4.
Women and children only! Women and children only!
I shall see you in New York.
Darling, can't you come with me?
I'll follow close behind. I think another ship is on the way.
John, please don't leave.
Mr. Astor, I must ask you to step out of the boat. This is for women and children only.
Surely you can see my wife is in a delicate condition.
I must ask you to step out of the boat now, sir.
Your hands off me, you idiot! See that you stay warm.
Mr. Astor, Mr. Murdoch is letting men into the boats on the starboard side. You should be with your wife.
Thank you, Mr. Ismay. But I have other business to attend to.
Fry! Steward, have you seen my valet, Mr. Fry?
No, sir. Sorry, sir. Any more women and children? Last call for women and children. None? Gentlemen, there's room for a few more if any of you wish to go.
Ismay! Are you coming?
Sorry, Mrs. Hilliard, I cannot go with you.
Mr. Ismay, we know nothing of this. You know of astronomy and navigation, and you could be a great help to us if you were on the boat!
As the chairman of the White Star Line, it is my duty to go down with the ship.
It's all right, Mr. Smith. Take over now.
Don't mind.
Sir, you've been rowing for over an hour.
Have I?
Bruce! Your feet,
What about them?
turning blue.
Can't feel a thing.
That's what I'm afraid of. Give them here. Now.
Thank you.
It's all right. No one minds.
Here, Kitty. It's a good girl. I couldn't have thought of you dying chained up, frightened and alone. Soon the water will rise all around us. It will get very cold. You mustn't be afraid. I may never get to see my unborn child. At least you and I will be a comfort to each other until the very end. Here's to you, my darling Kitty.
Ryman! It's going down!
Here you are, Mr. Ismay. You can use my cabin. Is there anything you require? Food? Brandy?
Nothing. Thank you, Dr. McGee.
Steady now, old man.
I did everything I could. I filled the lifeboats. I did everything I could.
Of course you did. Now let's go back up to the deck. There are a number of people who need medical attention. Some morphine will help calm your nerves and help you to sleep.
But there's so much more to do.
No help to anyone in your current state.
We must arrange for another ship to take us all back to England.
Plenty of time for that. Sleep now.
Madeline, my husband isn't here. Have you seen him? Madeline, have you seen Mr. Ryerson?
Most of the men didn't make it.
No, that's not possible. Where is Mr. Ismay? He would know. Doctor, where is Mr. Ismay? I must speak to him at once.
Can't be disturbed right now.
But I have to file a complaint. I expect to be compensated for my luggage, my jewels, the loss of my husband.
Mr. Ismay is currently resting in a cabin. I can arrange for you to do the same if you'd like.
Well, that's just fine, isn't it? We're out here with cold coffee and stale rolls, while the man responsible is probably getting breakfast in bed on a silver tray.
How long have I been out?
About 4 hours.
Doctor, can you arrange for a wireless message to be sent?
Of course. There are a number of people who'd like to speak to you.
I cannot face them yet.
I don't blame you.
Doctor, it's imperative that this cable goes through. I have to know another ship is on its way.
I'll tell them to send it at once.
Mr. Hurst, I'll get the story in that Titanic ready to go.
Ah, guess that poor scoundrel Ismay is fish food by now, huh?
Haven't you heard? He didn't go down with the ship. Got into a lifeboat.
Forelli, I need to make a few revisions to this story. Would you mind sending the head cartoonist in here right away?
Yes, Mr. Hurst.
Finally, New York Harbor. I thought we'd never get off that godforsaken ship.
Bruce, I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye.
Vivian, are you all right?
You
Not quite sure.
wanted to thank you for getting on that boat with me. I couldn't have gotten through that night without.
Don't know what to say.
You needn't say anything. I know what you did and what it meant for you to do it. Goodbye, Bruce.
Mr. J. Bruce Ismay?
Yes,
I'm Senator William Alden Smith. I need you to come with me, please.
I don't understand.
The United States is launching a full investigation into the sinking of the Titanic. As the chairman of the White Star Line, you are a key witness.
This was a British ship.
It is a part of the International Mercantile Marine Company. Is it not?
Yes.
And that company is owned by Mr. J.P. Morgan, a citizen of the United States?
My good man, the Titanic was built in Belfast and flew the British flag. I've arranged for one of my ships to take us all back to England, where there will surely be an inquiry.
That Marconigram was intercepted, and the order for the subject was canceled. Now, do you plan to cooperate with the American authorities or not?
In any way possible.
Then come with me, please.
You think it's true, sir?
That's besides the point, Butler. Very many people will.
Should we start looking for other jobs, sir?
I don't care what he did. The old buzzard doesn't deserve
Deserve what? Mr. Franklin.
nothing, sir. We were just talking about the newspaper article today.
Which article?
You haven't read the paper today, sir.
There was no time. I was escorted off the ship before it even docked. And I've been stuck in a hotel all day for this damned inquiry. Why is everybody staring at me like a wet weekend? Will you tell me what's the matter? There's a cartoon of me in a lifeboat watching the sinking Titanic. Read the caption, Mr. Franklin.
But, sir,
Read it!
This is J. Brute Ismay. We respectfully suggest that the emblem of the White Star be changed to that of a yellow liver. There's an editorial as well.
Read it.
In the middle of the North Atlantic, a giant iceberg lifts its white cliffs 500 feet into the air and towers like a mighty marble monument above the graves of 1,500 heroes who died that the women and children might be saved.
Please continue, Mr. Franklin.
When the dear ones had been sent to safety to the boats, these true men stood alone upon the deck of the doomed ship. Who would not choose so glorious a death? Who would not rather die a hero than live a coward? It's signed William Randolph Hearst.
Did you say Mr. Hearst wrote that himself?
Yes, sir, in the New York Journal American.
Which means it would have appeared in how many American newspapers?
About 27, sir.
It seems that everyone in America thinks that I'm a yellow-bellied coward.
Sir, we can write a rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. But I shall continue to clear my good name at the hearings. Back to work, everyone.
He handled that a lot better than I thought he would.
Just like his old man. Nothing ever phases him.
Father?
You're a disgrace to the name Ismay. I shall make you proud, Father. I shall build the biggest, grandest ship, Father. I'm spinning in my grave.
This can't be happening.
Mr. Ismay? Are you all right, sir?
Fine, Mr. Franklin.
Sir, your face is flushed.
Fine. Thank you.
Sir, Senator Smith's man is here to escort you back to the hearing room.
Mr. Ismay, will you please state the cost of the Titanic?
£7,500,000, sir.
And for how much was she insured?
Around 5 million, I understand.
Did you have anything to do with the insurance?
Very little. That was all handled here in New York office.
Do you know of any attempt being made to reinsure the vessel on Monday, April 14th?
None at all! That would have grievously taken advantage of the situation in a most reprehensible manner.
Thank you, Mr. Ismay. We'll take a 90-minute recess for lunch. Boy, I'm having a hard time with this man.
What do you mean? He's cooperating, isn't he?
He's so squeaky clean I can't pin anything on him.
The White Star Line isn't at fault. What's gonna happen to all these insurance
Most
claims?
of the world is calling for his hide, and I have to find a way to nail the scoundrel.
But if he didn't do anything wrong...
Doesn't matter. My ticket to re-election is seeing that J. Bruce Ismay is locked up for a good long time.
George, what on earth he got in a fight in the park?
That mean old Charlie Langford said awful things about Father, so I socked him good.
I told you, you mustn't pay attention to such things.
He said that Father was a murderer and should rot in jail for killing all of the people on the Titanic.
Why weren't you minding him?
I was! One moment they're playing, the next they're rolling in the mud. I'm gonna go up and change for Muriel's birthday party.
Her mother called. Muriel's got the croup and the party's been canceled.
They don't want me there because of Father. Do they, Mother?
No, darling. They don't want any of us anywhere.
When is Father coming home? He could make everything all right.
I'm going over to be with him in New York for a while, and Nanny will stay here with you and George.
Daddy's not going to jail, is he, Mommy?
No, darling. Of course not.
Now I can't imagine what an ordeal you've been through, Mrs. Burns.
First, my son dies in an automobile crash a month before the sailing. And then my husband goes down with the ship. They still haven't found his body.
Well, I'm sure you filed an insurance claim with the White Star Line for your loss of property. Not to mention your poor husband.
I filed a claim for over $5,000.
Well, that's too bad. You may never see a penny.
How is that possible?
Well, if this committee is unable to prove any fault on the part of J. Bruce Ismay, well, the White Star Line may not be liable for anything at all.
But what about all the things they're saying about him in the papers?
Those are just allegations, Mrs. Rose. However, if no fault can be proven,
Thank you, Senator. Quite prepared to speak my mind.
How'd it go on the stand today?
Is the King of England gonna grant you a pardon? Or are you gonna swing?
My newspaper would give you 10 grand for a full.
Bugger off! Come on, gents.
I've seen the newspapers. I can't imagine what you've been going through.
I have no idea.
But it's all right. I'm here now.
Want to lock me up for life, Lawrence? I cannot go on like this.
So you're gonna stick your father's pistol in your mouth? Well, that's a fine idea. Did it ever occur to you that God spared
That's
you?
the most ridiculous.
Stop it! Don't you see what an opportunity you have here? Bruce, we have means. We can help these people.
They send me to prison.
After all you've been through, where they think I'd let you give up without a fight.
When I spoke with them, I was left with the distinct impression that Mr. Ismay wanted Captain Smith to get out of the ice as fast as possible.
Now, Mrs. Ryerson, remember, you are under oath. Did Mr. Ismay actually say anything to you about speeding up the ship to get out of the ice?
Well, not in so many words.
So, Mrs. Ryerson, you don't wish to be understood that the Titanic was trying to set a speed record across the Atlantic?
By his attitude, we assumed that we were trying to make a record. I wouldn't say he used those exact words.
I have no further questions.
Not at all, Mrs. Ismay. How wonderful of you to be over here with your husband.
They're moving his hearings to Washington, and I've barely an hour before I board the train, but I had to speak with you first.
Well, what can I do for you today?
I've come to ask what it will take for you to stop these attacks on my husband.
It was just about selling more papers.
How can you say that? You have ruined my husband's life and mine.
Well, maybe he should have thought of Maybe he should have thought of that the night he tried to strangle me at my own party.
That was 20 years ago, surely you...
I have a long memory, Mrs. Ismay.
My husband is not a villain.
Well, a lot of people would disagree.
If you can't think of me, then what about my children?
Spare me the sob story, Mrs. Ismay. I've got 20 people down the hall who can write it better.
When we first met, you wanted something from me.
I'm listening.
If I were to offer you now what you wanted then, would you leave my husband alone?
Now that is the most interesting proposition I've had in weeks. Oh, God. You noble women are too much. Mrs. Ismay, I'm flattered by your generous offer, but I am in the business of sensationalism. You see, the Titanic is the greatest story since the Little Red Riding Hood. And your husband has been cast as the big bad wolf. Good luck, Mrs. Ismay. You're going to need it.
Are you quite sure?
You should be with the children.
But what about you?
I'll be fine.
This is absurd. How can you be responsible for any of this?
Because I'm one of the last in authority who survived. In a moment of indecision, I got into the last lifeboat.
Of course you did.
But I shouldn't have. I knew the ship was going down, and I thought of myself.
Just of yourself.
Of course not. I thought of George spilling tooth powder on my new bowler hat, and Evelyn's dreadful violin recitals. Your wretched plum pudding at Christmas.
Well, whether it was because of the children, me, or because of Vivian Hilliard.
You knew.
I knew she was in your boat. The names were listed in the paper. And she was the love of your life. But whatever the reason, if it saved you, that's what matters.
Know where I belong. It's with you and the children.
Once you return home, we'll never mention the name Titanic again.
Mr. Ismay, how many times have we been through this?
Senator, when we met at the Carpathia, though under severe mental and physical strain, I placed myself voluntarily at your disposal. I've attended every day of your hearings and have been a willing participant.
The committee is grateful for your
The committee is also aware, is it not, that an inquiry into this disaster has already been started by my own government.
We are aware.
But the British has jurisdiction to deal with matters of serious importance to the interest of my company that require my personal attention in England immediately.
Mr. Ismay.
Senator, I appeal to you as a husband, as a father. Many of my closest friends and colleagues perished on that ship. Their families have nothing. I must try to make reparations.
I understand.
Do you, sir? Then why will your committee not finish its examination of me and let me go home?
Mr. Ismay, I am not unmindful of the fact that you are being detained in this country against your will. I can see that the absence from your company at such a time would be most embarrassing.
Thank you. So
But sir, the horror of the Titanic catastrophe and its importance to the people of the world calls for scrupulous investigation. I have been charged by the Senate of the United States to make an official inquiry. Nothing will be left undone, and I shall not consent to your leaving this country until an official inquiry has been made.
Senator.
Are you aware that some members of this committee believe you should be tried for manslaughter?
I've heard the rumors.
I am trying to save you, sir. Under the circumstances, you should continue to help me instead of annoying me with your personal matters. Good day, Mr. Ismay.
Then I saw the first boat lowered. 13 people were on board. 11 women and 2 men. And one of them was Ismay.
I heard tell that he picked his own crew for a lifeboat. What a scoundrel.
By what right was he saved? If he had been plucked out of the water, one could have excused him. He was higher in the White Star service than the captain and should have gone down with the ship.
We ladies asked Mr. Ismay to get into the boat with us. We told him we'd feel safer.
For 25 years I have served under an Ismay, father and son, and both have always behaved as gentlemen.
Senator,
Mr. Ismay?
you wanted to see me.
The United States inquiry is concluded.
And what am I charged with?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
That is correct. You're free to go.
I've asked cook to prepare beef Wellington and mince pie in honor of your homecoming.
How splendid.
Father, you didn't really sink the ship on purpose, did you?
George, what did I tell you?
It's all right. No, son, I didn't sink the ship at all. I know it's been very hard for the three of you. But I'm home now, and we can face this together as a family. Do you understand?
Yes, Father.
My darling, I know you've only just arrived, but tomorrow night is the charity event for the Children's Hospital at the Royal Court Theatre. It would mean so much
I'll
to
be
me.
there.
Thank you. Of course, after all this dreadful business, they tried removing me from the committee, but no one would step in at such a late date.
Why would they want to remove
Well,
you?
who knows? You'd think that I'd sunk the bloody ship myself.
Mr. J. Bruce Ismay has borne the grievous insults hurled at him in the press with a dignity which is proof of his chivalry. We at the London Daily Mail will never stoop to such doubts.
We understand in the States you got towns named Ismay, Texas and Ismay, Montana. If it were up to me, I'd change them. Preferably to Astor.
We at the Glasgow Herald think Mr. Ismay must be glad he is an Englishman. Believe me, he's no gladder than we are.
Look, Father, I'm a pirate.
And so you are. And a terrifying one at that. Yo ho and a bottle of rum. Where did you get this?
It was in your suitcase.
You mustn't take things that don't belong to you. Do you understand?
Yes, Father.
George, go wash up for dinner.
You were splendid, pirate.
Darling, we're so glad that you're home. You just have time to change. Reception starts in an hour.
Your charity event.
Don't tell me you'd forgotten.
Of course not.
I had Jennings bring down your tailcoat.
I suppose it's dreadfully important that I go tonight.
Darling, it's all of our friends.
Take our seats, please.
Florence, my dear.
Good evening, Lady Peel.
So sorry to hear about your ship, Mr. Ismay.
Thank you, Lady Peel.
It must have been so inconvenient, and I understand they detained you in America for weeks, like a common criminal. What crust?
Thank heavens he's home now.
Is there a lift to the boxes? With my knee, I can't abide the stairs.
Allow me.
Well, I never thought I was going to be escorted by a celebrity. Been all over the newspapers for weeks, haven't you? I understand you helped float some of the lifeboats yourself.
All did what we could.
Then you jumped into the last one, saved yourself in the nick of time.
Something like that.
I say good for you, Mr. Ismay. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Let the filthy immigrants sacrifice themselves. You've earned the right.
Lady Peel,
Didn't I read somewhere that you're starting a fund for the widows of the lost sailors?
That is correct.
Putting in 10,000 of your own money.
11, actually.
How extraordinary! Still, where would one be without one's causes? And Florence, my dear, I dare say your husband's presence sold a good many more tickets tonight. Quite the curiosity, aren't you, old boy?
We must take our seats. Enjoy the play.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome you to tonight's performance benefiting the Royal Liverpool Children's Hospital. And now, the Lucilla Dramatic Society presents William Shakespeare's The Tempest.
Down with the topmast! Appealing upon this alley! They're louder than the weather! War Office! Yet again, what do you hear? Shall we go over and drown? Have you a mind to sink?
Darling, I'm so sorry.
I'll give 1,000 furlongs of sea to an acre of barren ground. The will's above be done, but I'd fain die a dry death.
Bruce, I feel like such
You
a
did that on purpose!
Why on earth?
Are you trying to snap me out of it?
Who remembers that The Tempest is about a shipwreck?
Only anyone who's ever seen it!
Bruce, please.
Taxi!
I thought it would do you good to get out, to be among people
Using
again.
my name to sell tickets! How dare you!
I didn't.
Everyone's
I wouldn't.
staring at me and pointing. I felt like the Asian elephant at the London Zoo. Haven't I been disgraced enough? Taxi! Sod it, I'll walk. Leave it off.
May it get you anything?
No.
It won't work, you know.
What?
Trying to turn me against you.
I'm not.
You are. And I'm staying right here.
I'll be up in a moment.
As to the attack of the moral conduct of Mr. J. Bruce Ismay, the suggestion is that while occupying the position of managing director of the steamship company, some duty was imposed on him to stay on board when the vessel foundered. I do not agree. Mr. Ismay, after rendering assistance to many passengers on board, found the last boat on the starboard side being lowered. No other people were there at the time, and he jumped in. Had he not, he merely would have added one more life, namely his own, to the number of lives lost. In conclusion, it is not up to the business of this court to pass judgments onto such a matter. However, shall I see Mr. Ismay on the streets, I shall pass him by in silence.
James P., I wasn't expecting you.
Hello, Bruce.
Board meeting isn't until next week.
Actually, we met today.
I don't understand.
All the press from Titanic, it's destroying business for the White Star Line. And it all links back to you.
But
The board
JP.
voted. It was unanimous. You will not be renewing your contract as chairman.
You can't do that! My father built this company from nothing!
I'm sorry.
No, you're not! It's because of you there weren't enough lifeboats! All these months I've taken the blame for your bloody actions!
Don't you think it's a little too late to be pointing fingers?
Never forget what you did.
Bruce, do you even realize how many people still think you belong behind bars? I might even be one of them.
You may be one of the richest men in the world, but you're still a swine!
Well, lucky for me, some people prefer pork to chicken.
Hello? Anyone home?
May I help you?
Mrs. Ismay, I wondered if I might have a word with your husband.
And you are.
Jack Oldpool, London Times. We're doing a Sunday feature on the 25th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic, and I wondered if
You
I
may
might...
not.
But Mrs. Ismay, this would give your husband a chance to tell his side of the story.
There is no side of the story. My husband is a frail old man whose life was destroyed by you people. He still has nightmares all the time. Why can't you just leave him alone?
Sorry, Mrs. Ismay.
Just a moment. Let me ask you something. If you were in my husband's shoes, what would you have done?
Well,
If you had to choose between being a hero and doing the noble thing and never seeing anyone you loved again, what would you have chosen?
I've never thought about it like that.
Well, do, please. And perhaps that's what you need to ask your readers.
I will. Thank you, Mrs. Ismay.
£500 to the Liverpool Seamen's Orphan Institution, £500 to the Liverpool Training Ship. Indefatigable. £500 to the Liverpool Seamen's Pension Fund, and £1,000 to the Margaret Ismay Fund for Pensioners' Widows.
Not enough.
It's twice as much as last year.
500 more to each.
I'll notify the bookkeeper. We must go in a moment. Are you all right?
Should have let the damn diabetes kill me.
It's only been a month since the surgery, and the doctor said it would take some time. Is there anything else you need before we go?
Some tap shoes. I'm rehearsing a number with Gertrude Lawrence. Awfully glad you spilled that cup into the punch bowl.
Come, we mustn't be late.
When they told me you were really coming this year, I simply couldn't believe it. Of course, the Margaret Ismay Fund has done such good works over the years, but now with this contribution from Dr. Grenfell.
Dr. Grenfell,
Gracious, I thought you knew. A gift of over £5,000.
5,000? Well, we should like to meet this Dr. Grenfell.
Let's
Mr. Ismay? What an honor. I'm Dr. Grenfell.
How do you do? I'm sorry, I was expecting...
A man? That's all right. Wouldn't be the first. Is that a new prosthetic?
How did you know?
I'm a very good doctor.
What a generous contribution you've made to the fund.
It's my pleasure. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Do you remember a little girl on the Titanic? You put me into a lifeboat with my mother.
Good God, you're Angela.
You were so comforting to me that night. My father had left me in the cabin. If it hadn't been for you, I would have stayed there and drowned. I decided I wanted to devote my life to helping people the way you helped me. I remember I had a stuffed animal with me that night. I was clutching it for dear life.
Mr. Flopsy.
That's right. You have no idea how often I've thought of you. You're a great man, Mr. Ismay.
body to the deep, in sure and certain hope of a resurrection unto eternal life. Amen.
More than 100 years later, opinions are still sharply divided about J. Bruce Ismay. Many people still ponder the question, was he a hero? Or was he a villain?
No two people seem to have the same answer.
No one knows what really happened that night.
Or why J. Bruce Ismay got into the Last Lifeboat.
There are so many myths and legends, it's hard to separate fact from fiction.
But what we do know is that for this one decision, the world never forgave him.
One moment.
1 second.
1 instant.